Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Another Monday night. We are all back in action over here. I'm your host, as always, Timuchin, here in hot ass Chicago. Today was supposed to be not the hottest day. I don't know, wife and I were thinking, hey, today would be a good day to catch up with some of the garden stuff. No, an hour later, I was dying, so I got to get back in shape for one. But even if I was in tip-top shape, this heat is freaking obnoxious, Gally. How are things in your neck of the woods?
The heat broke a little. I mean, it was literally like 80 to 85 today, but not 95 to 100 like it has been. Humidity down, but I mean, it's just awful. But I have to catch myself because, like, in 2 weeks it'll be beautiful and nice, and someone will be bitching that it's not warm enough for beach weather or something. Like, nobody's ever happy here. But then again, we live in the United States of America on June 30th. Not sure anybody is happy anywhere with any weather or what's happening in their state of affairs. So we'll just handle it. And God knows the people in England, they're dealing with the same heat, except for they don't have AC anywhere. So I kind of think they're getting it a little worse than we are right now.
Dara says hot try Arizona, but that's dry heats, I've been told. I don't know if that's a myth or not. But Bickler has the stash to keep him nice and cool. What's happening?
Yeah, it's a real cooling thing, I'll tell you. No, it's just a swamp.
When it maybe moves, is it like a fan or?
I was gonna tell you, I'm running on empty today. I don't have a whole lot of hope for this show for me. I'm tired. I haven't seen the light of day yet. It's hot. My house is sweating. I've emptied my dehumidifier 4 times. That's how humid it is. Yeah, it's not a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nasty. I was like, hey, I'm gonna start this stuff early because otherwise I'm gonna be sweating out the freaking podcast over here. But it still has been rough, and literally like everywhere, like in the morning show too, like throughout, like everybody in the comments, it's everywhere. That's like ridiculously hot right now. I mean, I guess it's end of June, but then again, what's gonna happen in mid-July, end of July? I don't even want to think about it. But something to think about, something to enjoy is trivia. It's that time of day. It's that time of show. I haven't played the music in a while, but you can sing. Everybody knows the song now. Sing it to yourselves as I go over the question over here. I'm sure we are all enjoying and watching every game of this FIFA Club World Cup over here. The question is regarding that. I guess we will test to see if we pay attention when we are in it. And is it like the Charity Shield where we don't care if we're not in it, kind of an ordeal? Okay, here we go. Currently on the way, Liverpool finished second in 2005, and they were the champions in 2019. Okay, name the 2 clubs Liverpool faced in those finals, and name the 2 hosting countries. We'll start with you, Bickler, since you made a face. Otherwise, I was about to go to Gally, but that's
no, you weren't. Don't fucking pretend like you were gonna do that. You were not. Like, it doesn't matter what I did. So, who was in the 2 Champions League finals we played? Is that what the question was?
No,
here we go. The FIFA Club World Cup.
FIFA Club World Cup. Oh, yeah, it was a Brazilian team we played last. I can't remember.
Flamengo.
Was it? Okay.
I think. I'm guessing.
It was Flamengo, yes.
I thought it was Flamengo, and I'm pretty sure it was in it. It was either Saudi Arabia or Qatar. It was in the Middle East because it was in, and I think it was in Saudi Arabia.
Damn, but Qatar was where it was, and the goal was.
Damn it! I said it right the first time. Go with your first gut, other than Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not Steven Gerrard, go with your gut feeling. Who scored the goal? You guys, I'm sure remember that. Bobby for me. Okay. 2005. This is the trickier one to remember. This is a good scale of if we give a damn, even if we're in it, kind of a deal, I guess. Because, I mean, if I had that the Champions League finals, I'm sure we would remember. Club World Cup 2005. We lost in the final to Bickler.
This is where I lean into the microphone and tell you I don't care about the Club World Cup, but like I can't move this mic because now I'm like self-conscious about it. So I don't know who it was.
Right before we went on air, it was just right in your face. Looked like somebody was like smacking you. Yeah, kind of like.
Don't remember.
Let's not go back to that. Where
the
was
match,
it? I guess let's go with that.
I feel like that was in Asia. I don't know where, but I feel like they rotate. So
Gally is going by continents and general area.
hey, first of all, I'm proud of myself just for getting 50% right and 50% of my guess almost right on the last one. And I watched that one. I did not watch the 2005 Club World Cup, probably because it wasn't aired here in America, because I'm not sure the 05 Champions League final was aired in real time.
I mean, technically, you got 66% of it right and the right continent on the last one. So pretty darn good.
There you go. You can pat yourself on the back.
That moves our overall scoring here on trivia up by at least an exponential percentage for how long we get it wrong.
You know what that means? BJ just has to make these a bit more tricky. It is a Brazilian team.
I'll guess Japan for my
Japan
Asian country.
Oh, I thought I said it already. Yes, Japan is correct. And
I wasn't listening to you, like usual. Santos?
Sao Paulo. And we lost 1-0 in that final. Yeah, I mean, even BJ figured, like, 2019 recency, and obviously the drama surrounding it, right? Like, do we go, do we not go? Brazilian players wanting us to go, so we do go and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a bit easier to remember, I think, because at the time, even, like, who cares about this? And you were in it, for God's sakes. So, I mean, now we're not in it. I guess, one of the topics I wanted to, like, we were talking about in the pre-match show, or where we throw each other ideas. We don't have a pre-match show. It's just like people throwing stuff at each other on Discord. But
don't think we prepare, people, because if you think we prepare, we are bad at our jobs.
No, that's our excuse. But okay, Club World Cup. Victor, I'll start with you. Because obviously we talked a little about it in the morning with Matusha as well. Klopp's comments were out there in terms of, that it's like pretty much a pointless tournament, and it's going to hurt the players in the long run and stuff like that. I look at it both ways. For a team like City, where they added a bunch of new players, I feel like this is a good early preseason in some ways. But a team like Chelsea, who's signing another like 15 players, it doesn't even serve that purpose. How do you think it will affect these teams in the long run? Because I feel like it will be an advantage early on, but come March and April, they're going to start bitching about this tournament that happened in June.
I think it's going to affect all sides differently, depending on how they're like using this. If you're a EPL side and you're serious about trying to win this thing and you're putting out your starting 11 legs, that's going to impact. Those are more games that you have on top of an already loaded fixture schedule. I just don't really understand the point of this tournament, to be quite honest. And I feel like that's probably me. That's probably a selfish way to look at this, because I know it means a lot, especially to the South American sides, to go up against the heavyweights, right? But I just think that, like, we're loaded to the gills with fixtures between AFCON and then World Cup and qualifiers and all the internationals on top of it. It just feels like, in the additional European competitions that are coming in now with the sort of levels to Champions League, Europa Conference, all that, I just feel like it's so much run on these players. I don't. If, like, not all teams are fully invested in the tournament, then all it's really benefiting are the South American teams that care about it, right? Like, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know about the longevity of this. I did hear the interesting argument that, like, the reason that there's more of these competitions is because, like, the players are getting paid so much now that they have to essentially, like, I don't know if I buy that. Like, I think, like, that feels like a chicken and the egg conversation to me.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm conflicted between not caring about it and thinking that's additional liability for teams, and then also thinking that's very dismissive of the teams it matters to. So there you go. This is my non-answer.
That is a non-answer. I mean, that's fair, though. I think it does mean a lot more for some of these, like, smaller teams that would never get a chance to face like a Chelsea or a Atletico Madrid or whatever. And obviously, and we always talk about this, like, follow the money stupid ordeal, Gally, and it's all about the money. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to have sympathy on the players. I don't expect a lot of fans to have sympathy on the players until he gets injured in March or something like that, and like starts pulling hammies or something like that. But how do you think it affects the teams? The teams that we will face, whether it's in the Premier League or in the Champions League down the road. Do you think it's a positive for them, negative for them?
I mean, listen, this is the thing. It is definitely a negative when it comes to league form. But can we just like be real? We say it's not worth anything, follow the money. Chelsea has already secured $48 million.
But that goes back to it's all about the money and nothing else.
No, but it's important to the clubs. That's the thing. The money is important, which is why Pep made the comments that he agrees with Jurgen, then tried to go out the side of his mouth and was like, but every club who isn't here would have sent their players if they were invited, because the club had a chance to win $150 million. Like that's a substantial amount of money, which is why Real Madrid has sent all their best players and is starting main sides. These guys are trying.
Do you guys think there is some kind of like an unspoken rule that most of these teams are playing a lot of their guys in these games? Like, hey, you can't just play your bozos against the New Zealand team. Make sure you trot everybody out there. Was this like an unspoken rule or contract or something like that?
I don't think it's an unspoken rule. I think they like money, which is why they play. Manchester United traveled 72 hours after their final game of the year and sent players they knew they didn't want at their club to Asia to play friendlies. Chelsea sent players years ago. Remember when Loftus-Cheek blew out his knee playing a meaningless game against the New England Revolution because it meant nothing days after? These clubs are trying to secure funds. I'm not defending the reason for the tournament, but I see all these comments saying it's a farce of a tournament. It was a farce of a tournament when it was played in December, and those same South American teams had to play in qualifying rounds, and then the Europeans parachuted in like they were getting dropped out of the Champions League into the Europa League. We played 2 matches to win the Club World Cup that we won. They had already played rounds of matches to qualify to come to the Middle East to play us. So for a club like Palmeiras, for a club like River Plate, to Paul's point, and to a lesser extent for some of the other clubs too throughout the regions, and especially the Saudis, I hate to say it, the Saudis are the reason that this tournament is existing and why it's happening in the summer. They're trying to help them build up their brand of football before the World Cup. This is a FIFA event. It's not a UEFA event. So,
but I mean, is this really helping that cause, you think, Vickler? I mean, like the World Cup, for example, is coming up, especially in the US. I mean, I think I read like on ESPN or something like yesterday that there were like 1 million empty seats by now, which would not be the case in the World Cup. But I don't think, I mean, I still agree. And I know what you're saying, Gally, but it all goes back to, it's about the money. The tournament is still a joke. It's still all about the money. If the money was done well, you would say it's a joke.
It would be a joke if it was happening in Europe right now. And the real joke is because world football likes to laugh at Americans. So they can laugh at the... I mean, no, it is. This is about killing the Americans and trying to destroy things. Right now, there is so much American hate, and it is absolutely warranted. And I've been one of the people on this channel and in our Discord chats. This is about the tournament. If this tournament were happening in Europe right now, they'd be struggling with the same issues because it's over. It's too hot to play football right now. They'd be having water breaks right now in the European games. They might not have to have the crazy lightning strike because people down in Bickler's neck of the woods, have these crazy thunderstorms, and they played a match in an area at the time of year where humidity doesn't work with common weather. This is about destroying FIFA because I think right now the best thing is anti-establishment. And this transcends sports. But if they weren't playing club football matches, they'd be playing meaningless European or meaningless qualifiers or friendly matches. These players were removed from summer tournaments like the Gold Cup, like, the Nations League. They'd still be playing football. This is the thing. These footballers are never given a break. So UEFA found a way to work with FIFA to get it off of their schedule and still allow for the money to come in. And the clubs are there for a reason. And if we were invited, we would be there. And our PR team would trying to be spinning this as a positive, just like Chelsea and City.
I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with the American thing, first of all. I do not. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think this could be anywhere. It could be in Japan or wherever. When people see that because the stands will be empty over there too, I think, in some of these games, right?
That's my point.
Unless, Japan sends their own people and stuff like that. I don't think it has anything. I mean, I'll get to you, Bickler. I don't think it has anything to do with the anti-American thing, which, yes, rightfully so. There's a lot of it going on, unfortunately. Even I'm being called a Yank all over online. But I think it's more about, these guys did the international games. A lot of the European players would be off right now. I know the Gold Cup, I think the Gold Cup and stuff would still be going on. I don't know how often that happens and stuff like that. But I think the European players would be off. I think maybe if this was more of a tournament where it was the best, I don't know how many even teams. This is how much I know about this. I don't even know how many teams are in here. But if, let's say 60-70% of it was top European teams, I feel like, Bickler, there would be more attention paid to it. And it would not be as much of what's the point of Bayern, just, scoring goals on the guy that's a butcher on the weekends. It makes no sense.
Maybe. I think there's an element of fatigue to this that has more to do also, we talk about player fatigue, but I think there's a layer of fatigue that happens with supporters. Yeah. To me, it's I need this break as much as the players do. You know what I mean? Which sounds ridiculous.
World Cup, dude, wouldn't you be so full blast? I know I would be.
For a World Cup, I just think it's different because, to me, a World Cup hits different when you're talking about national football. You know what I mean? It's just a different dynamic when you get the nations together and you have all the teams from different clubs melding into their national teams. The national team storylines emerge. French players don't get off a bus, things like that. We have all these different storylines that happen in these World Cups. I just think that there's a level of fatigue, not only in we worry about the extra matches, but it's just, especially because we're playing you end up playing Al Hilal or some South American team or you know what I mean, which is a big deal for those clubs. But for us, it's we're not paying attention unless we're going against Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Inter, those teams. And I think the build up to those matches, you got to get through all the other ones. And I think, frankly, people just don't pay attention to it. So the things that we do pay attention to are the storylines that make headlines, like a Chelsea coach mad about lightning, things like that. So.
Yeah, Brian says, of course we will be there. And yeah, heck, if you're winning, nobody's going to turn the money down. That's why it's basically a money tournament. Nobody's going to turn the money down because, going back to, I think somebody was saying in the comments, yeah, you can use that 100 million and get a couple more players and make it deeper so not have fatigue and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think to me, we are, and that's why I don't think it's an American thing. We are as soccer as it gets. We probably over-consume the sports, if anything. And I don't know about you guys. I have not watched one game. And I think that says it all. Because if it was a Euro or a World Cup and stuff like that, I don't care if it's, Denmark playing Iceland or something. I would still consume it. I would still watch it. Maybe because we know the players more, they're in different leagues and stuff like that. But there will be more to watch. The fact that, people like us who are really into the sport are not watching it, I think, says all you need about the tournament. But I don't think it's a sign for, I know a lot of people are trying to make it what's going to happen in the World Cup and stuff like that. But I go back to what Bickler is saying. It's a totally different story when it comes to that, because, it has its own different vibe. Like Ozan is saying, it's every 4 years. There's so much more to the World Cup that gets attention as opposed to this Club World Cup where, most of us don't have teams. But I think the trivia shows by itself, Gally, that even when we're in it, it's not that memorable. Because if I asked you guys any Champions League finals, you guys would rattle them out right away.
Part of that is, though, that it wasn't on TV. I remember struggling to get the Club World Cup final on a TV at the pub that we watch every match at.
The 05 one or the 19 one?
The 19 one, because it was on some random. I don't even think it was on like one of the major streaming channels because it wasn't being covered by Paramount or Peacock or any of the things that you get here in the States. So it takes you back. It harkens you back to those days of when you couldn't find football. The thing about this one is they made the biggest mistake of putting it here in the United States because what it did, and this is maybe I should clarify my point. The anti-American is it's about the people who want to say this next World Cup is going to be a failure. The 96 World Cup was actually, or 94 World Cup, whatever it was a success in the United States. It raised viewership. It had some of the record numbers on TV. It had record attendance. They played them in football stadiums on, bad pitches, but different story.
Yeah.
They put this in America knowing it might be the prelim to what would be like almost like the appetizer to next year's World Cup. And they should have known this wasn't going to work. And that's my point about what it did was it opened the floodgates for this is why we shouldn't be playing football. If the weather is like this, what's the World Cup going to be like next summer here in the United States if every 45 minutes we need a 2-hour break because of lightning? And by the way, everybody thinks that that's like an American thing. They just don't have thunderstorms as much in Europe as they do here. And by the way, that was a FIFA rule, not an American rule. It's a FIFA rule. If there's lightning within 10 miles, you have to wait 30 minutes until lightning strikes before you can play again. You know why? They don't want dead supporters sitting on steel benches in the crowd.
Exactly.
Like this is the part I don't understand. Like, we talk about wanting player safety, and then we have Maresca wanting to trot people out. This isn't football. Well, this is what it's going to be like next summer at the World Cup. I hate to say it.
The biggest thing on that one is, and I think that's the organizing part. And honestly, I didn't want to give this much time to this tournament.
No, I know.
But I think the biggest part of that is it's a failure if this was a precursor to the World Cup. And you wanted to kind of set the mood and, like, this is just an appetizer. Just wait till the main course comes in kind of a deal. Well, don't play it on freaking turf. Don't play it on these stadiums that are going to be lightning 24/7. And that's more on the organizing and the locations that are picked, I think, more than anything else. Because, I mean, I'm purist. I'm trying to think of an example for you boys for like baseball or something like that. But I mean, I don't know if they played football and it was like not even like turf and it was like in the gym, you'd be like, what the hell is going on over here? They're like really screwing up the sport. And I think, Bickler, that's some of the things that people are. I mean, I read, and I didn't realize they were playing it on turf, by the way, but I read a player complaining about their toes burning during the game. And I was like, toes burning? I'm like, dude, there's been a World Cup in Mexico, and this wasn't an issue, kind of an ordeal. And I then realized they're playing on turf. So obviously it's very natural for them to be hot as hell in that freaking, basically playing on asphalt pretty much.
Yeah, listen, I don't think Leo or Stitch want to play on turf either, judging by the sound of it at your house.
Like we just had, I don't know if it was like a fireworks or something like that, but Leo is
not happy. Not happy.
Thunder. 30-minute pause to the podcast.
Yep, I'll be back,
thunder and lightning.
No, I honestly, to be quite honest with you, Tim, I didn't know that they were playing on turf fields either. That's breaking news for me, and that is how much I've followed this. So I've kept up on the scores a little bit. I saw that Inter bowed out today and lost. But I haven't really been keeping track of this. I think that is weird that they're choosing to play on artificial turf. I wouldn't want to do that either for obvious reasons.
I'm pretty sure, right, Gally? Like they played a few games.
They played 2 matches on synthetic fields without rolled out grass, but they haven't actually played any matches on straight turf stadiums. Like they haven't. But then again, there aren't many like old school Houston AstroTurf fields left in the United States. Like there is no more of the yellow lines inside the white lines.
Roll out the outdoor carpet.
It just basically looked like, remember when you were in gym class when you were a young kid and like you'd get confused because they literally had like a rubber basketball court and then there would be like 9 different colors, and if you're colorblind, it really F's you up when you don't know what the key is on the basketball court compared to the indoor soccer goals, compared to the penalty area in the field hockey, but you all play on the same gymnasium floor. I think I still lost skin on some of those rubber basketball courts, but I just think that like we went way too far with this tournament because it's not getting coverage because it's not important. But it doesn't surprise me that Jurgen decided that it was the worst thing ever. And Pep decided to agree with Jurgen right up until he wanted to remind everybody that you're jealous that you're not here. And if you were here, if you were invited, you'd be here with us. Like,
yeah, I mean, if I give you the money, everybody would take it.
It's just sideways speak. They all need it. They all want it. It's going to negatively impact the teams that were in it, in my opinion, is specifically. I think it's going to really hurt City, and it's going to hurt Chelsea in some ways. Chelsea lesser to an extent because I believe they kind of needed meaningful games with all the new players and the guys they bring back on loan and the changeover. I think with City, they needed a break and needed to recharge, and they didn't get that. And in 6 days, our guys report after having a holiday. And these guys are going to take a 2-week holiday and then try to spend 2 weeks getting ready for a Premier League match. And I think by November to December, we'll see injuries. And I think by March, we'll hear Maresca and Pep talking about how it's negatively impacted their ability to compete this campaign.
I think that's what's going to happen as well. I mean, Ozan says City and Chelsea run out of gas. I do think, though, that it is an advantage for them in the early part of the season. So they will be, it's almost like being in game shape, if you will. So I think they'll be more up to the pace of game time, like game speed and stuff like that. But I think over time, it's probably more of a benefit to Liverpool and Arsenal that City and Chelsea are in this tournament. One tournament that didn't matter, and it was a bit more fun to watch. I only caught a couple of the games, mind you, was the U21 Euros there. Our boys do, especially Elliott does extremely well. Morton is in there. Well, Kwanzaa, ex-boy, is in there as well. Bigler, out of these performances, do you think it changes anything? I mean, obviously the value and stuff like that changes probably for like Elliott, I would guess. But do you think it changes anything in terms of their Liverpool future?
No, I don't think anyone goes into a U21 team in an offseason in a club like Liverpool and either plays themselves into or out of a squad. I think those decisions are already made. I think the only thing that changes are the valuations. Did Harvey help himself out? Certainly did. I'm sure there's a lot of people looking at that. I think there's probably a lot of interest in him in general anyway. I think those decisions with like the likes of Morton and stuff, I think he's always been kind of 1 foot out the door already anyway this summer. I don't see those things changing based on the performance of a U21 tournament.
What do you think? Yeah, I mean, I would think, nothing probably out of the 3-4 games that Slot is going to be like, oh, shit, I didn't know he could do that after having them practice with him like all year. But aside from value, market value, do you think it changes anything?
No, I don't think it does. And I think part of it is like, I love hearing people say things like, well, if you were watching the under-21 Spanish team, and he was and Kwanzaa was at Villarreal, and you watched him dribble out and carry the ball forward and make these incisive passes, or you had this number 10 playmaker. Wouldn't Liverpool be interested in signing that player for 40 million? And I'm like, no, because this manager has kind of made it clear he's not interested in signing young players that you need to develop. He wants ready-made stars. Like, this is the thing. They don't fit what he wants. And he sees the next step for them as being a new player, which is why they signed Florian Wirtz, which is why they want to talk to Mark Yehi, like why they are making moves. I mean, he builds up McConnell because he doesn't have belief in Morton. Like, that's the things he talks about and the most important thing. So for me, nothing changes. To Paul's point, Harvey Elliott was amazing at this tournament. You know what he showed? He's a really, really quality 22, 23-year-old footballer. He's also a overaged player in an under-21 tournament. He's one of the exceptions, so he should be elite. He's made 150 appearances at a club the size of Liverpool. Yet he only got 6 starts overall in all competitions last season under a manager who had an opportunity to give him more time and didn't until it ended. it doesn't change that he doesn't have the pace or the size and physicality to play in a setup that this manager coach wants to play. So for me, what it does is I hope it put his stock on the international level, because I actually think we might get more money outside of England, as weird as that sounds, because I think people in England are going to try to lowball us knowing we don't want the player. And I think he has higher value, actually. I've said it before. I think he has higher value at a European club in Italy or even Germany than he does in England, because I don't think a single European club in England is going to attempt to sign him.
Yeah, see, I feel like it has changed over the years. I know I'm going to sound old over here, but anybody who's like older in the audience will know as well. Like when you watch these U21 and stuff tournaments, I don't even know, Gal. I'm Vickler. I mean, maybe like not even maybe like a decade ago or so, right? You could almost scout these things as like a fan. You could watch and be like, man, they should go get this kid. He looks good and stuff. You know, we would play scouts. Well, now you pull up anybody in these tournaments. They're already here. They're already there. Like, they're all gone now. Because, I mean, we see all these 17, 18-year-olds playing at the very, very top level. I think in the past, you could look at these tournaments, the U18 tournaments, U21 tournaments, and most of these kids were still, like, in unknown clubs and stuff like that. And you were like, they should go get that kid. Well, most of these kids he's playing at City. He's playing at Liverpool and stuff like that. So they're all already established career guys. I don't think that's why it's probably, you're right, that it's not changing their value. Does it change your opinion of them when they have something like this under their belt? Do you trust them more?
I mean, I think that Harvey is probably a bad example of this. I think if it was someone that came out of the blue, that like we may talk about this differently, but I think we've been close enough to Harvey to see his brilliance in spurts, right? I don't think anyone questions the talent, but the facts are that this is the second manager that he's played under with substantial time, and the manager has consistently chosen other players around him. And I think that's the problem. We saw it under Jurgen, we saw it under Arne Slot, and really we've talked on this pod several times about how the moments that he looks special are when he's asked to be a fourth attacker. And that's such a specific moment in matches, in seasons, that it's very, very contained to in very limited in capacity for a player with that kind of quality. He deserves to be playing in a setup that utilizes an attacking mid the way that he can play. And ours just hasn't under both managers. And I think that's really sort of why we're in this situation where we're seeing him go ball out on a U21 team and everybody's like, oh, like, I think most people that watch Liverpool know what we have. We just know it doesn't work for what we do.
I mean, the interesting thing about Elliott is, I mean, we knew in the Klopp system, like, you could not fit him anywhere, right? He didn't have the speed to be on the wing. I mean, he's not going to be a false nine, and he didn't have the blue collar, like the physicality and stuff like that in midfield. Just to play devil's advocate over here, in a team where you are kind of carving out a role in a situation for a player like Wirtz, where it's like a creative 10, not, physically strong or anything like that, just really smart, like smart passes, creating space and all that kind of stuff. Do you think there is more of a place in a system like that for a player like Elliott? Maybe the last year's system that Slot did with what he had, what he felt would work best for the squad, there still didn't seem to be a clear role for Elliott. But when you're making something for Wirtz, isn't it almost like, hey, Wirtz, you come off, it's the 70th minute. Elliott goes in and does the same thing.
Sure, but I think the plan is for Wirtz to play 80 to 85 minutes of every meaningful match the club has. And I don't think if you're Harvey Elliott, you can sit around for the opportunity that Florian Wirtz gets hurt and you get to play some real football matches that matter. And I think he's at a crescendo of an age in his career. He needs to be playing football, and he's not going to play football as the backup number 10 or the backup right wing, which is the other thing I keep hearing. Mo's going to leave for AFCON. Harvey has 6 weeks. 6 weeks to play 80 minutes a match and maybe share some of that time with Frimpong and the other part with Luis Díaz or whoever. Like, it doesn't work. And here's the thing. If the manager thought he could offer major moments, there was a huge shift after the PSG match, right? He scores the winner at Paris, and they ask him, do you feel now like you're vindicated? Do you feel now like you know where you are at this club? And he's like, I'm here to fight. I'm ready to go. I'm not leaving. He was defiant that he was not leaving the club. By the end of the season, that message had completely changed. I have to look at my career. You only get one career. It's a short career.
Yeah.
Personally, I honestly believe a conversation was finally had between Harvey Elliott and Arne Slot between that PSG match and when they secured the title. And I think by the time that Chelsea first start happens, which never happens, by the way, if we haven't secured the title, he doesn't start a single Premier League match all year long.
Probably not.
If it takes us till the last game to win it. And I think he got told, you don't have a future at this club. I honestly believe that. Because I think everything we've seen from the manager is he's the most direct person we've ever had in the position, which is why the old guy, he liked to give you hyperbole and he liked to call himself the underdog. The new guy's like, we are not the underdog. If you want to play at this club, you have to be as good as Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. If you're not, we don't have time for you. And it feels to me like that's what's happening right now. And I just think this is natural progression of what being a big club is. And I'll say this. When we had Jurgen, he liked being the underdog. And I think sometimes he actually told management he wanted to be the underdog and invest in the guys in the squad. And we'll build this guy up. We'll make Naby Keita work, even though it's been bad for 2 years. And I think this guy's like, I had 1 year with Darwin Nunez. I'm done. I had 1 year with Costas. I'm done.
I think
it's a different mentality right now at the club, in my opinion, because I think we're at the top.
Hey, I want to be I know he kind of probably almost enjoyed that role, being the underdog. I don't think he would want the squad to be underdog at all times. He would still downplay it and make us the underdog, I think, regardless of who we have in the squad, because I think that's what he fueled off of, and that's how he motivated. But, Brian says, he's not better than Wirtz or Mecca or Mo when it comes to Elliott. But I just think, you still need depth in these positions. And Bickler, we're talking about, the moves that were left. We talked about Gay, for example, last week. We don't know yet what kind of a player we want up top and what's going to happen there. But obviously, if you move players like Elliott and stuff as well, because I do know you have to balance the books a little bit at the end of the day, and he's probably one of your most valuable assets that you can get probably 40 to 50 for or something like that, especially if you got 35 for Kwanzaa. But then you have to replace him. There's a replacement cost, because I don't think you still need somebody who can come in and play that role. And aside from Jones, from the young guys, I can't think of anybody that can do that. So you will have to go and get somebody to play that role, especially if you're carving out a specific role and a setup that utilizes Wirtz, which I'm sure you will, because you just spent a lot of money.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see. You're gonna see some more rotation with Jones and stuff. I think it's different. I think we're looking for attacking options from the midfield, and I think that what's going to happen is if he's looking for a fourth attacker, he's going to look along the front line positions. And I don't think we know what that looks like yet, but I think there's going to be some additions there.
Tony says, I agree, Harvey will go. That's another thing. It's probably, we talked about the same thing with Kwanzaa, right? We look everything through the lens of the club and the squad and slots and us. But you got to look through through the eyes of the player as well. And honestly, if you want the best for Harvey in terms of his career, it is probably going somewhere else and being a regular starter, as he can be a regular starter in a lot of player teams. I guess I just worry about not filling these slots afterwards, once we start selling these players that are actually assets that we can move. Problem of our own success, says Jamie. If I wasn't already a Reds, we'd be crying out to sign them up. That's an interesting
manager
question.
Wouldn't.
Would we ask if we watched Elliott right now, and if he wasn't our player, he's available over
manager
there?
Wouldn't.
Would we not say, hey, this kid can create, can play with like Veers does or something like that.
I mean, I would say that we're not going to go out and try to find a kid that sort of plays between roles as an attacking mid in a system that doesn't really utilize that. But then we went and bought Carvalho, and we all saw how that happened. So I would think under this management, I would think that maybe there's less of that. I think when that Carvalho thing happened, I think we were in this weird middle ground where there was people leaving the office and Klopp banging on the drum for more transfer power. And there seemed to be that didn't seem to be as stable of a situation. There seemed to be a lot of hands in the pot when that happened. I think this is battened down, and I think it's tightened down a lot further. I can't see a world where Hughes and Edwards go in and try to get a younger player in a position that is not a position that like the manager is really shown to utilize. And that's another thing though. This may completely change, right? We may see different formations. We may see a different sort of preferred starting 11 formation going forward. I just can't see it.
See, that's my thing. I mean, we are basically looking at Elliott right now and trying to find a spot and saying there is no spot for him because we're kind of looking at what we saw so far. But I think we're pretty much all in agreement that we probably did not see what Slot ultimately wants. And that's why especially if you sign I mean, let's be honest, I don't even know if we would have picked Wirtz and found it realistic in the current format a little bit. Maybe if with Szoboszlai and stuff, but we're still trying to figure that out, right? We're not saying like, okay, he came in, Szoboszlai is out. So you figure there has to be some tactical changes to accommodate and get the most out of him. And I feel like that's where maybe Elliott can carve out the same spot and be like, hey, can I go in there too? Because that looks nice. And then be that regular backup that gets more minutes. So when we play the same system, I don't know, in a League Cup game, whatever, or like maybe I think he will approach Champions League a lot differently this year too. We will not go all out for all the Champions League games and save ourselves more for the Premier League based on what happened. I think Elliott gets a chance to play the spot that Wirtz would. That's, I guess, I'm trying to make a theory for keeping Elliott.
He could. I guess my argument is Slot has made it clear he likes versatile players, which is why you see Frimpong, which is why you're seeing these different names we're being linked with, even Wirtz being able to play the false 9, number 10, out on the left-hand side as the second attacker. If he wants to get Szoboszlai and Gravenberch minutes or rotate Jones in, are you telling me that you don't believe that if they move McAllister into the same exact role they carve out for Wirtz, it's not a better version of Harvey Elliott? Because I believe it is. You could push him forward into the 10.
Oh, yeah.
He's a better version.
Enough, but then that would depend on, you would need to get somebody else to put in the rotation to play the pivot.
You have, I honestly believe Szoboszlai now is part of the pivot. It's a 3-man pivot. It's Szoboszlai. It's Sobo, McAllister, and Sobo, McAllister, Gravenberch, and then break glass, it's Endo, unless he's not registered. And the way they talk about McConnell, he's the 7th midfielder at this point in the overall depth chart and setup. And for all these clamors about these players, I made the comment in Discord, I read it, and it was a really good comment, and I shared it. Like, there was a Feyenoord fan on one of the YouTube videos talking about what Slot did when he first came into Feyenoord. In his first year, he was allowed to make 2 signings. They sold their best player, and that's it. He kept the entire side exactly the same. He watched them. He figured out what he had. He won a cup with them. He won a domestic cup, and he got to the Europa Conference final in his first season. In his second season, he sold 10 players, bought 10 players, and they won the effing league because he had a year. And I feel like he got this job and told them, you don't have to buy anyone. Give me a year. I'll see what I can do with Jurgen's guys. We'll figure this out. But after it, I need carte blanche that you're going to work with me. And it feels to me like we're seeing the fruits of that mentality. He's not going to make 10 for 10 because he doesn't have to. This side's got too much talent in it. Everyone laughed at us when we said we might get 6-7 signings. I think at the end of the summer, even if they're fringe players, we're going to have 6-7 new incomings, and I think we're going to have 4 to 5 outgoings. And this is my point. He knows what he wants. He will not accept anything less than like his level of excellence. And to your point, I think he's ready to change this side 2-3 times over and over. I think he's a pragmatic manager who knows how to use super talent without playing like Arteta and setting up with a low block to try to defend and win 1-0 matches. To me, he's ready for what he considers his evolution of this club. And unfortunately, a lot of our favorite people will leave because of it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. We don't know. And that's basically what it boils down to for the guys up top. I mean, I think we kind of know a couple of the guys based on how many minutes they got, like Nunez and stuff like that. But I still don't know exactly what he wants out of the striker. And we still don't know how. I'm sure there's a great plan since Wirtz was sold on it, like how he's going to utilize Wirtz up top. I mean, real quick, because we probably spent way too much time on the stupid Club World Cup. But up to the front line over here, Bickler, what do you expect? Or what is your guess? Because it's all guesses at this point, right? There's a lot of rumors with different players and stuff like that. But in terms of how we're going to play and what kind of a player we're going to go after, like Ekitike or Osimhen and stuff like that, what is your gut feeling that we will go for?
My gut feeling is that we're still in the market for a striker. And if there is not the striker that we are happy with available at the price we want it, we're going to find a versatile attacker that can play in all three across the top. And I think if we don't get a striker that we're happy with at 9, I think there may be 2 additions to that top 3.
So you're replacing Nunez and Chiesa, correct?
Yes, essentially, yeah.
Same, Pirelli, real quick, before we move on to the next one.
Definitely replacing Nunez because the day is over, even though when you think about like what Arne Slot probably wants and what Wirtz needs, it's a 9 that gets on the end of runs and makes good, intelligent movement and creates space and has energy and presses and all the things Nunez does well. But this last season was so bad, there's no sounding board for bringing him back. I think they want Isak because he ticks all the boxes. I don't think the deal will be doable. If they could get Ekitike down in price, I think it's worth the gamble at his age, his profile, and I think he fits the bill of what they might be looking for. But I'm with Paul, and I said this last week. I asked you guys, would you consider, if you're keeping Diaz, almost penciling him in at being your center forward, your number 9 attacker, and signing another left wing to offer competition and coverage for Gakpo on the left, with the idea that in 2 years, when you run Diaz's contract out, but there's still talk of Diaz getting deals of 70, 80 million, which I think the club will accept if that offer comes in and he's willing to go. So I think it's 2.
Hey man, I said real short. Good thing I didn't say give me an in-depth answer on this.
No, but I think it's 2 attackers no matter what. I still think there's a world where it could be 3. I genuinely think they're trying to push it all to the front because they think they have enough talent right now to compete with what they have. And I think they're strengthening to a point where they're building a whole new side with a whole new setup. I think it's going to be completely different than last year.
I mean, the interesting thing is, we don't know the format just because you're introducing like Wirtz into the equation. But aside from that, it really depends on what you're going to get for Nunez at the end. So there's like estimates out there. I do think, though, that's like the interesting to me, Bickler, is the fact that I felt all along that if you don't get the guy you want, they don't spend. If you don't get the guy you want that was worth 100, they're not going to go with their second best, third best choice and spend 80. You know what I mean? That's going to be like, okay, I guess we'll wait a season. The other thing that makes it tricky is it almost feels like, like we talk about like in American sports, like the window and stuff, especially with like Van Dijk and Mo there doing the extensions. You got them for 2 years. You brought these guys in. It's almost like you don't want to wait, though. The moves you made right now feels like you don't want to wait. Gally was talking about earlier in terms of like, like getting young players and improving them and stuff. The guys we're bringing are ready to go. So it just feels like you would have to get a striker now, whatever the cost.
This feels like a window where you're just opening and going for the whole thing, right? Yeah. I guess to me, if you can't go get Isak and that's the one that you want, Like, to me, you go, dude, and I know people don't
Here
like
you
this.
go again.
I know this is not popular. No, like, to me, you go get Anthony Gordon because he can play all three.
Oh, no, I'm good with that.
No, listen, like, my thing is you go get him, you go get all three. My worry about that is that it makes Newcastle very, very reluctant to do business in the next window, and then they prioritize Isak moving somewhere else. That's my one worry about that they don't want to be seen as a feeder club for Liverpool or just have Liverpool come in and poach their top frontline talent. That's the only thing I worry about there. Do I still think Osimhen makes sense? Yes, if that's where you're going, Gally. I still do. I know that you guys hate that idea. I still think he's one of the few strikers in Europe that you have to account for with an individual game plan.
It would definitely go to the like strike while the iron is hot. This is the time. This is the window. Let's go get a guy that's going to be, let's not wait kind of a deal. In terms of like, and so you can throw the age thing maybe out the window with that. I'm still not big on the dude as
I know.
like his history and team player and stuff like that. We talked about that like in the past week as well. Were you about to say something, Gally? This better be real.
Well, I was just gonna say I heard this. No, it was an interesting like kind of. There was a show on the Anfield Wrap or one of the pods I listened to on my ride home. Now that I have an hour and a half in the car, I listen to way too much shit. But they were talking about different players and the profiles and the skill sets, and they were comparing them to Jota and Nunez. And obviously they talked about Ekitike, they talked about Isak. But they made this like curveball out of left field type thing, right? That once a player's on Liverpool's radar, they're never off Liverpool's radar, which is why we heard about players for years and years. And their argument was, if you look at the underlying numbers of the last 2 years in Germany for what Christopher Nkunku did right before he went to Chelsea, before it all fell apart with no plan and no system. Like, if you think about all the things you want of a striker who has movement, the ability to link up play, the ability to drop deep and press, the ability to win balls back, and the ability to finish, like his last 2 years at Leipzig, and I know Paul was a huge fan when we were linked to him when he was leaving Leipzig. And we all thought Chelsea really stole a march on everyone by signing him. It obviously hasn't worked. Like, could that be the type of player if, say, the third week of August, he's still on Chelsea's books? Like almost a Daniel Sturridge-like move. We couldn't figure out how to make this work. We'll give you a chance to take him because we need money and we need to balance numbers. Like, in some ways, he's the type of gamble signing. And it's not just him. It might be X player that fills in his name. But I feel like that's the all-round type of an attacker that this side needs. Because everybody says sign a number 9. But a true number 9 outside of Isak is a gamble across all of Europe right now. Because they have to score goals. If Osimhen isn't scoring goals, he's not helping your team. He really isn't. Like, he is along those lines. Like, Osimhen, Ekitike, they have so many red flags all over the place. If it isn't Isak, it has to be an all-arounder to Gordon, to Nkunku. I just used a name. There's probably 5 others. But, like, Gyökeres doesn't fit. Sesko doesn't fit. To me, I think we're going to not end up getting a number 9. And I think it's going to be Jota. Maybe even Chiesa stays and they just make him sit and just be fifth attacker and play different roles. And they actually try to use him in a new format. I think we're going to be shocked at what ends up happening. I have more faith in us signing a left winger because it feels like we're linked to every big left wing prospect around the world. And I think that's because the club knows we should have signed the kid who left Napoli for PSG in January.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens. Wirtz happens, though, I guess, too, in terms of, like, finances and stuff. I'm not sure. I mean, nobody knows. I mean, that's the problem for the front line. We don't know. Maybe we are looking for a number 9 because we're going to play according to that. I really was hoping, like, this last week, we kind of talked about this last week, too, that, you know, we would hopefully start seeing the domino, like, the first one fall, so it kind of, like, we see who's going where and stuff. But still a lot of unknowns, still a lot of rumors. And it's not because of this Club World Cup or anything like that either. All these teams that are interested in the strikers. I mean, Chelsea is interested in anything that moves. But, you know, the others like Arsenal, Liverpool and stuff are not in this tournament. So I'm kind of like semi-shocked. I think everybody is literally waiting for each other. Nobody wants to pull the hold up. If we can't get Isak, I would corner Rogers as 9 and play double 10 with him. Who? You lost me.
I think
Morgan,
he's talking
Morgan
about
Rogers.
the Aston Villa.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be interesting too. And that's the thing. We just don't. That's what this makes this offseason slightly frustrating in that sense, because it's really hard to tell. I mean, like I say, if we discussed it a couple of months ago, I don't think we would have looked at Diaz as a possible option and tried to like work out a spot for him or anything like that. But real quick before we go, we kind of talked about this last week as well, but now it is official. Thanks to Bickler working the phones and the lines and everything like that. Right. So I'll have you announce do the work over here. So we'll get you a few minutes in. Throw.
I love when you put me on the spot like this with no context, no heads up.
I just gave you the context.
Basically, where am I all over again?
Yeah, where am I all over again? Yeah, no shit.
So this year's 24-hour podcast for the 23 Carragher Foundation is going to be happening live from Manhattan, New York City, Carragher's Pub on Saturday. I believe it's August 9th through Sunday through the charity match. We will be doing a live watch along, and we will end after the match, and then we will go crawl into a sewer and expire.
Yeah, I'm hoping like Angel can drag me back to the hotel or something like that, or to like an Uber vehicle or something like that. But yeah, we are going to do it 9th to 10th at Carragher's own location. More details will come along. We just basically finalized and got all the details in terms of location. Like I said, Bickler has been working on that. But we do finalize the hours as well. It will be 12 Central, noon on Saturday until 12 Central, noon on Sunday. 3 of us on air, 24 hours nonstop. No breaks except number ones. Or
I really like how we do our season predictions at the very end too, when we're all on death's doorstep, and expect that those will be good to look back at.
We'll do the live watch along. The game kickoff shows are like 9 o'clock Central right now, so we'll do the live watch along, and then we'll bring everybody on, our contributors, like we did last year. The good part of that is we don't have to be awake, so you were snoozing pretty much after the last hour anyway, asking where you were at and stuff. So we'll be doing that and finishing it up with that, and hopefully raising a lot of money. So if you're in the audience right now, and if you would like to sponsor an hour, anywhere from like $100 to $500, we do have personal sponsors. We do have Spotter clubs doing sponsoring. We already have 2 of them in. Again, Austin and Edmonton have already committed, and I'm talking to several others right now. And obviously, like businesses as well, we had several businesses sponsor us last year. So, and if we do have several personals, we can do like co-sponsors and stuff like that. So, do message us, send us an email, throw it in the comments, whatever it might be. If you would like to sponsor an hour, the more the merrier. We did $5,000 last year, and with being on location and everything, we're going to send Bickler out there occasionally, scare people with the stash, and collect money to the GoFundMe, to the patrons like eating over there, and see what happens over there. But any final thoughts, Bickler?
Like and subscribe, smash that like button. I don't know.
There you go. Attaboy. Gally, anything?
Just it's Saturday the 9th, right? Is that the actual day? Is it 8th or 9th?
Saturday the 9th to the 10th is the day.
Thing. I just wanted to answer Jamie's question.
Yeah, Jamie, get those Wilmington boys involved.
Honestly, for everybody out there, like, don't forget, like, if you can just share our link in your local supporter clubs groups that day, if you can drum up attention, if you have any Liverpool related items that you would be willing to donate that we can use in our silent auction. Like, we take contributions from everyone we can, so we can raise as much funds as possible. And to Temujin's point, we did 5,000 last year. We want to double that amount at a minimum. We want to exceed it, but we'd really love to do $10,000. I know Jamie and the entire foundation was extremely excited and appreciative of what we did. They're supporting us on this, including Carragher's housing us, which they don't realize what it's like It's bad enough to have us in their bar. It'll be so much worse to have us there for 24 straight hours. Like, we're going to be there with the cleaning people, which is some of my favorite part of the whole idea, is that we're there after everyone gets, like, last call comes and they're going to let Gally stay, which usually is never good on the bill. Let me tell you right now. But in all seriousness, please get involved, share it, like it, send it out to us. Like, we want this to become something that we can really hang our hat on. We're proud of being a Liverpool group here in the United States that supports what's happening overseas and back, for the club. So we want this to continue to grow. So please help us grow it. And thank you for all your help.
Ozan says, do we have like, yes, actually, we're working on the graphics right now. So those should be coming up soon. Parto is in the house. Parto is actually going to be one of our personal sponsors as well. So yeah, I mean, that stuff will come in. Obviously, we have like 6 weeks to go now. So we'll be kind of like doing a push and like getting everything finalized and stuff like that coming up over here. I'll be honest, like last year when I threw the 5,000 out there, Bickler knows, like in management, you throw some goals out there, they're kind of slightly bullshit, but if you do them too low, it's not going to happen. So I did throw the 5,000 out there as kind of a goal that we try to get to, because if I say 3, we're probably going to do 3 kind of a deal, and freaking we did do it, and which was really, really impressive, and we're all very proud of it. So hopefully doubling that this year over here, but hopefully we'll be talking about more transfers and stuff like that come next Monday. Less speculation, more facts over here at American Scouser. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.